who gets scared by a bear in the neighborhood. Call Joe Murray.
I happen to trust Joe Murray.
First time I ever met Joe Murray was at a
What's up? I'm Joe Murray. Welcome in. Just dusting off your car, getting up, getting it going. You got your earphones in and you're ready to do some shoveling. We got you for the next hour before we hand things over to the NBA Finals matchup between the Dallas Mavericks and the Boston Celtics. Ooh, it's lost its luster, huh? Ooh, that's how it feels to be a Dallas Mavericks fan when you first hear it. A rematch of the NBA Finals. And now you stink. We'll find out if they stink. As we're here until 7 o'clock, we'll hand things over to Grandy and Max. They'll have the call of tonight's game. Pregame begins at 7. Tip-off just after 7:30 tonight. A lot to get into today. We only have an hour, so we'll get into what was good and what wasn't. But a very interesting day. I mentioned the rematch. It was also the NBA trade deadline. And there were some moves made, like some big-time players were on the move today. So when it comes to trade deadlines, save the radio conversation of, oh, what trade deadline's the best? It's the NBA, and it's always been the best. Always. The NFL doesn't do much, right? Hockey, meh. And baseball, you just hope your favorite team does something, and normally they don't. That's why the NBA is the best. There were years where Danny Ainge did not make a move at the trade deadline. He held on to his assets. He kept everything. In the end, it all worked out, but I think at times he could have made some moves to bolster a few teams. But for this year, they got out of a salary situation. They moved on from potentially $15 million in tax savings. They lost a nice young talent, a defensive piece, but for the most part, they got a future second-round pick in return. That was it. People were wondering if there was something else to the Celtics at the deadline here. Of course, Drew Holiday was on the injury report yesterday. He is out tonight. So normally where you see smoke, there's fire. At least they're consistent that he is not playing tonight. We will give you an update on Anthony Davis, if he will be in the lineup for the Mavericks. Also, I thought there was excellent coverage today all throughout 98.5, the Sports Hub at the Super Bowl. I got a little FOMO. I'm not going to lie to you. Wish I was there. But some really good guests and interesting comments at Radio Row regarding Mike Vrabel and regarding Josh McDaniels and their relationship. So Teddy Bruschi talked about it. Dan Orlovsky talked about it. I think we have some clarity about who may be involved and who isn't based off reporting. And, of course, I'll take a look ahead to the Super Bowl. And I want to see how both these teams have built it so they can go to multiple Super Bowls. So we have all that for an hour here on 98.5 The Sports. Plenty of audio. If you missed anything from today, we'll give you the good stuff. But today was the NBA trade deadline. Listen to this list of guys that were moved around the deadline. Luka Doncic, De'Aaron Fox, Jimmy Butler, Brandon Ingram, Anthony Davis. I'll get into some of the moves, but the Celtics doing nothing today is a win. It's a win. Everyone knows this team's all in. Everyone knows that the future of this team will change hands as far as an owner goes, and everyone knows that the window is now. Everybody knows it. And now the commitment is real. We always knew that they committed to it. All that money, re-signing guys, bringing the band back, they committed to it. But now they've doubled down on it. They're all in. Everyone knows what's on the line for the Boston Celtics. It's repeat or nothing. This is the last year they can keep this team together. I at least feel that way. They could have shredded more payroll if they really wanted to make it more enticing for the next owner. Nope. I think they're one of the biggest winners here at the deadline. Other teams were getting off money. Other teams were moving on from pretty good young players who might be up for a contract next year like the Lakers did. Or even what they did with Luka Doncic. There were teams that got younger and got better. San Antonio is one of them. There's others that want to compete with the Boston Celtics. The Cavs, I think they want to. Some teams bolstered. We'll get into them. But today, it's a win for the Celtics. And there are these second apron restrictions now. The Celtics have 2 open roster spots. I don't know what they're going to do, but they have a couple of in-house options. Drew Peterson could be one of them. They could guarantee that. Maybe J.D. Davison, who's probably got some value now on the market. They could just do it right there. Maybe they'll hope for some sort of veteran that becomes available, but they lose all mid-level exceptions completely when it comes to acquiring some sort of bought-out player. So that player needs to make essentially under, I think, $13 million. They can't do the multiple salaries. There's a lot of things they can't do. But as far as picking up the rest of these guys on this run here, there are a few options. And I'll give you a couple of names coming up. But Gary Washburn, Boston Globe, expect to focus on the buyout market to add to the roster. They can't sign any player who made above mid-level. So 12.8. That's before being waived. 2 roster spots. I mentioned Drew Peterson. Here are a couple of names I wanted to just throw out there to you guys because I find them interesting. Number 1 is Lonnie Walker, a guy that was here with camp, really looked well. I think everybody was rooting for him, but it's a guy they could bring back. He was here. He can score. I think they liked him. I think he really wanted this. So it's there. They could bring him in. The other one is O'Shea Brissett, somebody that was on their team last year that does at least fill a role defensively that you lost with Jaden Springer. Plus, I guess you can play him as a 4. So do you want upgrades to that? Do you want to do better than that? You could bring back Daniel Tice. Daniel Tice was waived. Last year, he passed on the Celtics in the buyout market. He wanted more playing time. At least he'd leapfrog Xavier Tillman right now. Maybe Kate is slightly ahead of him, or they're even. Maybe Tyson's better. I don't know. But there's a spot for the guy. He is a walking foul, of course, but interesting name. Kelly Olynyk, I looked it up, made $12.8 million. Is he someone that could be eligible? I'd look into that a little bit here. There are some other names. I'll give them to you coming up in just a little bit, but the Celtics return tonight against Dallas. One thing I wanted to bring up on tonight's game that I think is very important. I loved what happened against the Cavs. They got out to a big lead. Things got close, about 4 points, and they closed the door, and they did it without Jaylen Brown on the court. They'll be without Holiday tonight. I think Dallas right now is still reeling off the loss of Luka Doncic, and they got completely blown out the other night. It was a no-show. Anthony Davis not playing tonight. So here they are now, another game without one of their best players. But the Celtics have not played well in this spot. But I'm backing them big time tonight. When they come off a long road trip and return home, they've lost the last 2 games. This would be your look-ahead spot or trap game on the schedule with the New York Knicks on deck. I've talked about this one for a while. I've circled this game. The Celtics opened at 9-point favorites. They were at 10 during the day, and they're at 11 right now. The money is pouring in on the Celtics tonight. So they've lost again. After the road trips, they've returned and lost. I think tonight we talked about flipping the switch. They beat the number 1 team in the NBA. They won the NBA trade deadline. Oh, and Jimmy Butler is gone, and everybody's gone west. The Celtics are the winners at the trade deadline, and you know what? The whole entire league is chasing the Celtics right now. One more thing before we go to break. I just saw a smile from Skaz. I got to bring this one up. I was never a Marcus Smart fan. I never believed he was the heart of the team. I hated when he made comments about Joe Mazzulla not being ready, and I thought he got in the way of Jaylen Brown's progression. It was true. It was right. When they removed him, it worked. But today, Marcus Smart, the one that nobody could move. Oh, how could you trade Marcus Smart? He's the heart of the team. Who won that deal? Porzingis? Smart? Who won it? Who won it? By the way, Marcus Smart dumped today by Memphis along with a first-round pick. Just to get rid of him, you had to give a first-round pick to Washington. Oh, Washington must be the worst franchise in the NBA right now. Just, what, Chris Middleton's there? Oh, do you know who he reunites with? Malcolm Brogdon. Oh, the two guys that were involved in the Porzingis deal now together in Washington, and you had to dump a first-round pick along with it? Some Celtics fans might have to face the truth on this one. Brad knew what he was doing, and Brad won the deal. The Celtics won the deal. Marcus Smart played 39 games in 2 seasons. He's averaging 11.6 per game, and he shoots 31% from 3. He makes $20 million this year and almost $22 million next year. And I just wanted to bring it up. You had to keep, Marcus Smart's the heart of the team. Dumped today with a first-round pick to Washington. The Celtics won that trade. They won the trade deadline today, and now everybody is chasing the Celtics. Hashtag the repeat is on. We'll leave it there at 617-779-0985. I want to look at some of the contenders. And also, I mentioned Jimmy Butler. Was his time in Miami a success? We'll get into all that. We got Patriot stuff. We got it all until 7 o'clock tonight. I'm Joe Murray here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Don't go anywhere. There's more Joe Murray.
been getting wholesale deals for years.
It's Joe Murray on the Sports Hall.
Tatum pounding it. Shot clock already at 7. Tatum floats it to Marcus Smart. Smart right-hand dribble. Attacks the paint. Pump fake. Forces it up. Off the glass. No good. Rebound Butler. Miami with the ball. Down by 2. 19 seconds to go. Butler for 3. Short. Rebound. Jalen taps it to Al Horford. Miami has to foul. Marcus Smart gets mugged across half court. And the clock stops with 11.4 to go in Game 7. Jimmy Butler had it on his fingertips. He had an open 3 for the lead. And a shot and a moment that will be replayed forever. Saw the shot hit the rim. The Celtics grabbed the rebound and now are free throws away from the NBA Finals.
This is Celtics went to the NBA Finals. And Jimmy Butler, no longer a member of the Miami Heat, goes to the Golden State Warriors. I'll be honest with you right now. I'm intrigued by it. I really am. This has nothing to do with the Celtics. I'm intrigued by watching the two really dominant personalities and one of the softest personalities in the game together. I'm really intrigued by that. But we did a little of this last night. But was Jimmy Butler's time in Miami a success? And as somebody who covered the Celtics for all those years, I thought that Jimmy Butler was a thorn in the Celtics side. He just really elevated his game when it came to playing against the Celtics. Do I think that he's an all-star player? Yeah. Do I think he's a top-tier player? No. I think he's a tier 3 guy. But when he's playoff Jimmy, he plays like a top 10 player in the league. And I think it is an indictment, I think. Skaz mentioned that last night where, your teams could be the number 1, number 2 seed and be favored, but instead you lackadaisical during the year, and then you turn it on when it matters. I mean, I guess in that league, that's the way it's been. But Jimmy Butler was a 6-time All-Star, was an Eastern Conference Finals MVP candidate, brought 2 teams to the NBA Finals, almost went to 3, as you heard there. But I think it was a success, but it's a real debate. He led the Miami to the NBA Finals twice. We all remember him being nicknamed Playoff Jimmy. They went to the Eastern Conference, or they went to the Conference Finals 3 times. Finals twice. And no rings. Beyond the Celtics, no team has as many appearances as the Heat during Butler's time with the Heat. And I believe nobody but Butler and Curry have more appearances, I believe, than Tatum and Brown, which is very interesting, and now they're on the same team. But when a player fails to win a championship, it's labeled as, they didn't get a ring, so it's not a success. I sometimes look at what Butler did there, and I think he was the biggest thorn in the Celtics side. Like, they couldn't pass LeBron. The Garnett team did. They passed LeBron. It wasn't LeBron's time yet. The Celtics went to a Game 7 against LeBron and lost. Those are the guys you tip your cap to. But Jimmy Butler, I don't know. I call it a success. The Celtics won't have to play Jimmy Butler this year, though, unless they meet in the finals, which not a lot of people think that's going to happen. So, Skaz, it was deadline day. I know the Green Teamers were in full effect. I saw Jay Stu working the wire today as well, hearing trade rumors. I think the Celtics are winners. And just to reiterate, the Celtics traded Marcus Smart. They traded Malcolm Brogdon. They traded Robert Williams. They got Drew Holiday. They got Porzingis. I think they won all those trades. And to see Marcus Smart get dumped today like that, and now know that everybody's chasing the Celtics and that they're all in and keeping it together, I just got a nice little smile on my face. I want to get myself a nice little Shamrock Shake. I think today would be the day to get the Shamrock Shake. And right now, I haven't looked at the betting odds yet, but I think after this deadline, the Celtics might be the favorites right now.
Yeah, I think, for the Eastern Conference, the big one is obviously DeAndre Hunter to the Cavs. That's the big move that probably directly impacts the Celtics the most. You'll see it on Celtics Twitter that he is not fared too well defensively against Jason Tatum. Tatum has played exceptionally well against Hunter in his career, but it does give them, another scorer, another weapon, a guy that's better than Karis LeVert, obviously better than Georges Niang. I do think an upgrade. The price was, it is what it is. Mark Williams, I think, to the Lakers is a sneaky one as well.
Yep.
He's a good player, another Dookie, JJ Redick guy. Definitely that lob threat that Luke is looking for. I think his defense is overrated, and I thought the package was a little steep, I would say, a little crazy that they ended up giving up for him, but he's a guy that should help them. But he's another 7-foot guy with back injuries. But
I think he's younger than, if we're talking about all these teams, right?
No, the Lakers have made some moves to get younger.
Well, the thing with Williams, though, is he was younger than Dalton Knecht, who I liked, who's a rookie. He actually was kind of a promising pick. I got to give them credit for it.
Yes, Lakers fans would have told you he was the next Steph Curry 10 minutes before that trade. Now they're telling everyone that, Mark Williams is Kareem because that's
what you're hearing. And not for nothing, but there are some numbers out there on that one. His last 10 games, he's averaging 20, 12, and 2 blocks. So, he's really turned it on. Maybe, I don't know, maybe he thought he would be showcased. Maybe his agent got in his head, right? Rob Pelinka is probably golfing with him. The way they handle things.
Dookies, those Dookies stick together.
I was going to say. But if we just keep it to the Celtics and their competition, the Cavs, right? The Cavs.
I think the Bucks did some okay things, too. I think Kuzma is a good move. I know people around here don't like Kuzma because of where he was drafted and the early Tatum comparisons.
Smooth, long scorer.
He's a guy that's, in the last 6 years, hasn't had a chance to play one meaningful basketball game, stuck in Washington. So I think he will be a decent addition there. It's just, when he's chucking up some of his ill-advised shots, the looks Giannis and Dame are going to give him, hey, this isn't Washington. That might be a slight adjustment, but Kevin Porter Jr. to the Bucks as well. Jericho Sims to the Bucks. They've done some okay things to fill out that roster. So, I still think that the Bucks could be, a legit threat. Not, I'm not saying they're going to beat the Celtics, but I think they've been overlooked this season, I think.
I'm probably more impressed with what the Bucks did with the little that they have. The Cavs are who I'm looking at. The Cavs are this team that I mentioned to you the other night that they probably needed something else besides Strus. Well, is DeAndre Hunter that guy? And when you sent it to me, I went, yeah, Celtics own that guy. They do. I'm not scared at all, but if you want to look at the Cavs, Garland, Mitchell, Mobley, Allen, and now Hunter in the middle of that. That puts Strus to the bench now, right? It's an upgrade. They now are a better rebounding team. But I wanted to give you the numbers because I had to look it up. Jason Tatum's played 12 games against DeAndre Hunter, being defended by him. Jason Tatum averages 27.8 points per game, 8.8 rebounds, and 5.5 assists. So again, when I said that guy sucks and the Celtics own him, it's Jason Tatum that owns him. So, wanted to bring that one up. The Warriors, we mentioned, got Jimmy Butler. He signed an extension, 2 years, basically 120. And just some of these other contracts that were out there, as far as chasing the Celtics, Bucks, maybe? Cavs? Knicks added one player. I think the Celtics won the deadline by doing nothing. Sticking with it, moving on from that $15 million to help them. Repeat is on. We'll leave it there at 617-779-0985. If you got any reactions to the NBA trade deadline today, there's a ton of NFL stuff that I do want to get into. It's regarding Mike Vrabel. It's regarding Josh McDaniels. And now when national people say the things that we say, don't you feel validated? And then, I'm not a reporter. I don't report anything. I just read the lines and I tell you what I read. And sometimes I either say I believe that guy or I don't believe that guy. And I think I'm starting to lean on a side when it comes to some of these things. So we'll tell you, give you some of the audio. There was some great audio today by Teddy Bruschi. It's great to see him back. He was on with Zoe and Beetle earlier today, and, he knows Mike Vrabel very well. And it sounds like he's got some insight on it. Brad Stevens did talk to the media. We'll give you some of that before we hand things over to Grandy and Max. And just there was a couple of other things that came out today. I just wanted to mention the Denver Nuggets did nothing to help Nikola Jokic. And I just want to put that into perspective. If I worked on Denver radio, I would literally be like, how are they not supporting the best player in the league?
Yeah, I think the two shocks for me was obviously Denver doing absolutely nothing, and maybe shock strong because they really haven't done anything the last offseason, last deadline. But the Wolves not doing anything either, I thought was kind of interesting. A team that
finances,
shook it up. They have Anthony Edwards, so yeah, that's not what you want to see if you're a team like the Celtics. I mean,
Minnesota, I at least can look at the finances. Denver,
yeah, that's
the greatest player on the planet.
They should be building around him. A healthy league builds around its superstars,
How the hell is that guy has no support? None. Wait till he asks out. Because Luka didn't, right? Luka didn't. He could have. He didn't. This guy. Yeah, he's got Porter and he's got Murray, but neither of them stay healthy. They haven't surrounded him with anything to be in the championship conversation. What, they just believe that they're going to get there magically because of him? Maybe. That's wishing a lot. I'm sorry, but if this was Boston and if Jason Tatum becomes the best player in the league and they don't support him, we'd be crushing them. How does that happen? The best player on the planet. All right, we'll leave it there. We'll get to the headlines here. I'm Joe Murray. We'll hear from Teddy Broski. Coming up next here on the Sports Hub.
Sports Hub headlines.
All right, NBA trade deadline day. PJ Tucker goes, to the Heat. He's going to get bought out. Pacers traded James Wiseman earlier tonight. Brandon Ingram goes. Quick, smelly.
It's Joe Murray on the Sports Hub.
I mean, Josh is used to running, spent probably 2 decades trying to pump the same system for multiple quarterbacks. I know he's done some different things, but you got to realize that Drake is different. And I think that there's going to be a voice in his headset that when he strays off a little bit, that voice will straighten him out. And that's the head coach. And
okay.
Yeah. And
so this is Mike's team. Like, people think, okay, one guy coached the offense and one guy's going to be a defensive-minded head coach. I think Mike's bigger than that, right?
What are you talking about?
Mike Vrabel.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's I'm reiterating the voice that you said.
I mean,
that's good. Because people don't think that voice could potentially do that to Josh.
Does your head...
See? That's good. This is good. We're getting reinformation that
Josh McDaniels was a defensive assistant when Vrabel and I were in there, and he was making highlight films to make us laugh. Okay? So, whatever. I mean... I love Josh. He turned out to be a fantastic coach, a great coach. But the head coach that's there now won't have any type of delay in telling anyone in the entire organization, listen, this is how we're going to do this. Okay, and this is the way I think things should be done. And that's the voice that has to be there.
Wow, I heard that today and I popped. You know, when somebody talks, someone says something every once in a while, you pop. I've been down on the Mike Vrabel hire. I've been really down on Josh McDaniels. But you know what? It's better than Gerard Mayo, so I'm on board. That's just where I stand on it. When someone says, oh, well, Josh McDaniels did so good with Brady and all these guys, look what he did with Matt Castle. I just push back because he did it with Brady and he did it with Belichick. Anytime he was not with one of them, he failed. And now it's, well, Josh McDaniels is back, and, he's look what he does with quarterbacks. And you just heard a guy who literally knows Mike Vrabel, knows him. And when it got brought up about running the offense, running the defense, or, who's the guy in his ear, Teddy Bruschi emphatically said Mike Vrabel. So there's been reporting that 2 head coaches, reporting on a arranged marriage, reporting that it was Vrabel who really wanted McDaniels. And then I don't know what to believe anymore. I don't. I'm just going to go by what I think. I loved hearing that today. I loved hearing it. This collaborative approach that they tried didn't work out. And quite frankly, if Gerard Mayo, who's gone, couldn't be the guy who made the decisions, now Mike Vrabel is the guy to make the decisions. So when I do postgame and I say, man, Vrabel on that call, because it's Vrabel. Yep, Josh is named offensive coordinator. He's going to work. But I have a ton of questions about him and his personality with Mike Vrabel. I don't know if those egos can mix. But then I heard Dan Orlovsky today talk about Drake May and how Josh McDaniels could have an influence on him, and then mention someone else who probably is the better hire. Let's hear from Dan Orlovsky earlier today on Zoe and Beetle.
So when they hired Josh, I was a little hesitant, candidly, just because as good as Josh is and as smart as Josh is, I do think that to play quarterback at a really high level right now, your play scheme has to have a lot of the new age elements of football attached to him. And Josh's don't. He doesn't use a ton of pre-snap motion that impact. Information, yes. You motion it back out, it's man, it's zone, but impact information is changing the leverage of a defense or, creating a numbers advantage. Josh doesn't have a lot of that in his background. A lot of the quarterback run game, Josh doesn't have a lot in his background. And so I was hesitant in that regard. I do love the fact that they brought in Thomas Brown with him because Thomas does. Thomas has been in Carolina when they did a little bit of that. He's been in Chicago last year taking over with Caleb. So I love the fact that they paired him with Josh obviously is a brilliant offensive mind. I think they'll be a little bit more play action centric, which I think bodes well for Drake May. They obviously have the people around it to do it, but I like the pairing of that.
Wow. Dan Orlovsky, who played quarterback in the league, who talks to a lot of players, didn't like the move of Josh McDaniels and feels that a lot of the stuff that he does isn't up to speed. Yet, what was the reporting that we heard this offseason about Josh McDaniels? Was working with Ohio State at their college this year, trying to learn more about offenses, etc. That was reported. I don't know if it's true, but it's reported. But he goes on to say that maybe the guy that he likes here is Thomas Brown, who was the interim head coach at the end of the year for the Bears, but he was with Caleb Williams. He spent time in Carolina. Like, he has a lot of those young, new offensive skill sets that they're looking for in a coach. He also mentioned the play action, which is something that Josh McDaniels has been known for. Listen, whatever the reporting is, there's a lot of people in that room with a lot of opinions. And when I initially heard about it this year, I thought that would be the biggest issue. But hearing from Teddy Bruschi today, I got out of my chair. You ever you ever see the movie Major League 2? When he he made it, his hair is all good and he's got the hot wife, the hot girlfriend who's the agent. And then this guy's just trolling him in the outfield, and then he comes back and he became Wild Thing again. He popped, right? When I heard Teddy Bruschi say it's going to be Mike Vrabel's decision, I went, whoo, 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 whoo. I got tickled. It's the first time I've been tickled in a long time by the Patriots. When I heard Thomas Brown's involvement, I went, whoo, whoo. I'm starting to get excited now. Starting to get a little excited here. Your thoughts, 617-779-0985. I should probably do one more thing. And by the way, this opening takes are always brought to you by ESPN Bet Sportsbook. ESPN Bet Sportsbook is always our sponsor here for our opening segments. One last thing before we go to break. It was reported that Dante Scarnecchia is back. I'm not a reporter. I'm not a reporter. I'm just a guy that works on the radio that reads articles all day. So there was some podcast, Bill O'Brien. Now we're taking reports from Bill O'Brien, everybody, suspect, that says that Dante Scarnecchia is actually working with the Patriots. So yesterday, what did you see? Everywhere. Scar's back. Scar's back. Scar's actually been working with it. Reported by blank. Scar's back. Well, I don't know anything about reporting. But I may ask the source, wouldn't you? Well, the source today said, no. Not working with the Patriots. That's the source himself. Unless he's lying. The source himself said no. A lot of just fishy, non-transparent things still going on with the New England Patriots. A lot. But the reporting, woof. And again, I'm not a reporter. I'm just a guy who works on the radio. We'll give you our final take before we get out of here. I got a thought on the Super Bowl, and Brad Stevens spoke. We'll let you hear what he said. We'll do all that as we're here until 7 o'clock. I'm Joe Murray here on the Sports Hub.
More Joe Murray coming up on the Sports Hub.
98.5 The Sports. I'm Joe Murray. Brad Stevens spoke to the media. I'll tell you what he said in a minute here. One quick thing on the Super Bowl. Tomorrow night, we have a full show, everybody. We'll have all the prop bets. I believe Lift Shots will be in studio, and we got your buddy from Underdog tomorrow night, Kyle Irving.
Kyle Irving, 720, Underdog NBA.
There we go. So we have him tomorrow night. So a full show. Should be fun. Just wanted to mention something quickly regarding both teams, the Chiefs and Eagles. Where did their offensive starters come from? Nice little graphic today. If you look at the Eagles, Jalen Hurts came from the draft, right? How about Dallas Goedert and Mariota and Landon Dickerson and Cam Jurgens and Lane Johnson? All of them were drafted. All of them. Jahan Dotson was literally like a mid-season trade pickup, wasn't he? Was he released or did he get traded? I think he was traded. A.J. Brown came over in a trade, right? Devontae Smith was also drafted. And then Saquon Barkley was a free agent. Mekhi Becton was with the Jets, remember? So it's just like, you drafted incredible. And then you make these trades and it works out for you. That's the Eagles side. The Chiefs side on their offense. Patrick Mahomes drafted. Pacheco in the 7th round drafted. Worthy drafted. Travis Kelce drafted. Caliendo, Humphrey, Smith drafted. Where'd they get Joe Tooney from? Free agent, Patriots. Juwan Taylor, where'd they get him from? Jaguars. Hollywood Brown, where'd they get him from? Free agency or trade, I can't remember now. Anyways, he came from the Cardinals. DeAndre Hopkins, where'd he come from? Wow, it's amazing when you draft well, huh? And you make good trades and free agent signings. It's amazing that you can go to multiple Super Bowls. These teams in the last 7 years, the Eagles have been to 3 Super Bowls. The Chiefs have been to 5? Wow. Imagine drafting well, huh? Imagine that. Jeez. That drives me crazy. Brad Stevens says he's going to fill the 14th roster spot pretty soon, or the 13th pretty soon, and then the 14th. Scaz, just while I got you here, because I know you're transferring over, Drew Peterson, is he in or what? They're gonna give him a deal or what?
You think that's going to be their move?
I don't know. I'm just saying it could be him and Davidson and just call it a day.
Yeah, I'd like to see him do a little more.
I think O'Shea Brissett's in the mix.
Bring Brissy back.
And
Brissy TV.
I think Lonnie Walker's in the mix.
Yeah, I think, B-Rob just put out a piece over at Mass Live. I think Torrey Craig's a name people would like. He's played 75 playoff games.
Veteran who can shoot the 3.
He's 34. Shot 40% from 3 last year. So a guy like that is something I'd be interested in.
How about Tice, baby?
How about they got a Rodman up in Maine. I'd take a look at him too. Maybe he's been eating some rebounds up there.
Reggie Jackson's another name. Mo Bamba. A lot of bigs on that list. A lot of bigs. How about PJ Tucker? The annual PJ Tucker question, Scaz, every year. The guy hasn't played a lick of basketball.